The Vancouver Canucks preseason is finally here, and we have all the biggest takeaways from Game 1 and Tocchet himself on players who stood out that'll be key going forward through this preseason. We're going to be breaking down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the start of the regular season, so if you want to help us get there, make sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for all the Canucks news. With that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is preseason Game 1. If you were watching the game last night, you would have seen Vancouver did beat the Seattle Kraken by a score of 3-1. It was a very convincing preseason win, and heading into the game, we saw the projected lineup. Mark and I did cover it in our video yesterday as well on the potential projected lineups, but we see there where we had a mix of the old and the new as far as some guys that are coming up and getting some prospect experience that they might not get through the regular season because of how loaded this roster is. And looking at scoring as well, you had Nils Höglander with the first goal of the game with an assist by Linus Karlsson and Aatu Räty. Then in the second period, Filip Hronek buried another power play goal with an assist by Brock Boeser and Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Of course, we did predict that things were going to happen on the power play with him specifically, and just that he was going to make things happen in general. He did have another assist on the empty netter along with Brock Boeser. But the biggest thing was seeing that these young prospects came up and showed out, and the power play was clicking. We saw things that we didn't see in the regular season where the power play was going. And we see here in the total box score where the shots on goal, 26-19, face-off percentage. We were a little weak in the face-off circle, but there was one player who did stand out in the face-off circle. We're going to get to him in a minute. Then you look at the power play. Vancouver did a great job at staying out of the box. Only 2 penalties versus Seattle's 6. There was a great scrap. There was a few little scraps there. Actually, there was 2. Mark Friedman got in on one, and then Ulrichsen also got in on another one. That was awesome, where he went after a 9-year vet, just having that confidence to just go after him, drop the gloves, and set the tone early. The penalty minutes leaned heavily towards Seattle as well. We were able to stay out of the box on multiple occasions except for those fights. And the hits, we were able to be a bit more physical. We had a lot more physical guys out there, especially when you look at the line combinations again as well, where you had guys like Danton Heinen and Linus Karlsson on the same line. Then you also had where you had guys like Forbert and Freeman paired together, 2 bigger guys. Those guys were awesome to watch. And then you had Höglander and Räty and Garland where they were really fast line, and that brought a lot of production. Getting that first goal was awesome, where Garland was double teamed. They were able to feed it out, and then Höglander buried out deep. That was awesome to watch. And then you had Sammy Blais also paired with Ulrichsen and Sasson. That was a very physical fourth line to have out there. So that was really cool to see. And then going through more of the box score as well with the block shots, the giveaways, the takeaways. There was a few things Vancouver did have to clean up, and we're going to get to that in a second with Rick Tocchet's quotes from the takeaway. But overall, Vancouver did have a fairly dominant game, specifically on the shots on goal and in the power play efficiency. Yes, they were 2 for 6, so they weren't fully capitalizing on those power plays, but they were still getting 2 of their 3 goals on the power play, and the third one being the empty netter. So they were still being more efficient than they were in the postseason and at the end of the regular season, or just throughout the regular season in general, really. But their shots on goal as well, that was something that they were not in favor on the shots on goal on a lot of games. And seeing them pop up like this on the score sheet, yes, we know it's the preseason. We know that it's just going to be a matter of time before it happens again in Vancouver with their more defensive approach. This is the preseason. Guys aren't going to be playing their starters as much. But again, seeing that this is setting the tone early is the biggest thing. And another big thing that was great in this game was Artur Silovs. He played lights out. He came into this game already regular season ready, and we're going to get to his parts on him in a second there, but that's going to lead us in the second topic of the day, which is Tocchet's takeaways. And the first quote we had from him in his press conference was just on Game 1 in general. I thought it was a good effort, a little sloppy at times with some turnovers, but I thought our power play was good, getting a couple goals. I thought some of the kids played well. Silovs obviously played very well, so it was a good effort from some guys, and Silovs was just off the charts. Tocchet went on to say that he was ready for the playoffs, and he just was ready for the scrimmage game, whether it was a blue-white scrimmage or in a preseason game. He was just always ready to go. He was always ready to just answer the call and just be great between the pipes. He did face a few high danger chances. He stopped all but one of them. He was great in the net, and it's going to be awesome to see him go forward as the 1A goalie temporarily heading into the start of the season. But there was another player who did stand out to Tocchet, and that was Aatu Räty. Just talking on his game in general, I think he plays a heavy game. He's not afraid to get in there. I think he likes the heavy game. He just keeps working on his skating, and he just keeps playing fast. faster. I don't think there's been a day that he hasn't worked his ass off. Like he always got his motor running. He's trying to make the team, and that's what I'm looking for. He's just trying to elevate himself. He's going to make rookie mistakes, but we can live with that if he keeps working, and we know that he's going to keep working. Ratu came out heading into training camp saying how much more he was working on his game and just being NHL ready, making sure that he can refine his tools so he doesn't have to spend as much time in Abbotsford and he can make that jump to the pros like he's been wanting to do for his entire life. And then going on to talk about how he played on the power play as well. There were a couple of sequences. We had a couple of penalties, and I put him on the right side. I thought we were good getting killed on the right side, but he went in there, and it was 3 in a row. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, that's huge. 25 times 3. That's 75 seconds of PK time. He was awesome on the penalty kill. So Ratu is being able to refine his game where he's able to get on the point sheet. He's able to be getting goals, getting assists, and he's also able to kill power plays for the other team and be efficient and make sure that Vancouver isn't giving up those critical shorthanded goals. Another place that he was very efficient in that the rest of the team wasn't was the face-off circle. Ratu stood out for a number of reasons, but it's hard to ignore his work in the face-off circle where he finished 14 for 18 on draws. That's giving flashes of JT Miller face-off efficiency where Ratu could be one of those guys. We know that he's playing both winger and center. We know he's better at center and he's going to get more experience on the wing in Abbotsford. But again, he's a guy who's going to show that great solid presence at center and make sure that it is held down in the faceoff circle, especially when we can have more than just 2 lines deep in the faceoff circle that are going to be reliable. JT Miller is amazing in the faceoff circle. Teddy Bluger is solid. We have guys that are going to be great in the faceoff circle. So if we can have a younger guy who is going to be reliable like that and just bring that efficiency, that's going to be amazing going forward. And I can't wait to see what more Ratu does. And I think he's going to go into the next preseason game with more of a hunger to make this squad and potentially put up a goal or two. It's going to be great to see. We can't wait to watch the next game heading over to tonight or whenever you guys are watching this, however you're seeing it. Maybe the game is already played, but it's going to be great to see game 2. But another prospect who did stand out to Tocchet was none other than Jonathan Lekkerimäki. When speaking on him, he said, yeah, just a really crafty, smart guy, pretty good patience with the puck. I really liked even on the empty net goal. He didn't rifle it down. He made a nice bank pass, things like that. I think his hockey IQ, he's a pretty smart kid. I think he's going to get more comfortable. And that's the thing that we've kind of touched on in this training camp and preseason is that a lot of these guys are going to have to get more comfortable with not only North American ice, as a lot of them are international players, but they're also going to have to get used to the speed and the pace of an NHL or even AHL game where some of these guys like DPD, he did have a give up in that scrimmage to Danton Heinen where he was able to get a fast break. So things like that are going to be things that Vancouver doesn't want to have to deal with in the regular season. They want to make sure these prospects are refining their game so things like that aren't happening just at the AHL level, let alone at the NHL level. So making sure guys are going to be ready in that sense is going to be key moving forward. But another thing that's going to be great moving forward through this preseason is seeing guys play in repeat games. Tocchet plans on testing a handful of Vancouver hopefuls by playing them on consecutive nights. In the wake of Tuesday's 3-1 victory over Seattle, the head coach revealed that Aatu Ratu, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Sammy Blais, and Max Sasson would all get right back into action on Wednesday night in Abbotsford when the Canucks face the Calgary Flames. And when speaking on that exactly, Tocchet did say there will be 4 or 5 guys that go back to back. I think it's important that these guys play in that atmosphere when you might get a little tired. That's when you have to see guys. You have to play when you're tired and you've got to play smart. It's a mental thing too. They may not even get tired. So I think it's important that we get some of these guys back to back. And I think that's a great thing to touch on, especially with the preseason. These are games that they ultimately don't matter as far as a win-loss record. So this is the time where you can try things out and test these players to their limit without them being a liability as far as win-loss record or playoff positioning or total points throughout the season. So if they're able to play these guys in these preseason games where all we're doing is just seeing how they perform, how they work, how they just want to be on this permanent roster, and they're just going to work their butt off to get to it, I think we're going to see some very interesting prospects work their butts off into these next 2 preseason games where they're going to try and make a case as to why they should be on this roster. And I think it's great that Tocchet does go into that saying how they need to get used to the mental thing. They need to get used to playing tired and making sure that they're not making mistakes while they're tired, because when it gets down to playoff time, that's going to be crucial for these guys. So they're going to have to make sure that they're not getting tired, that they're not wearing down by these teams, because other teams are going to be having to take them to the deep water. Not every team is going to be the Seattle Kraken where you can just easy breezy blow through them. There's going to be teams that are going to test us. Nashville is going to be one of those teams that's going to take us to the deep water in the playoffs if we encounter them as a wild card or in the Western Conference Final. So that's going to be something that these prospects are going to have to work on. What do you guys think about the prospects? How did they play in game 1? Are you excited to see how they play in game 2? Let us know what you guys think down in the comments, but that's going to take us into our final topic of the day, which is everyone's favorite topic, and that is comment of the day. And we see here from Jonas Michael Moyer 9378 that the preseason will be awesome to see some lines we may never see again. Very exciting, and I couldn't agree more, especially when we look at the lines that we already saw where we had guys like Garland playing with guys like Atu Ratu and Hoglander, and they looked awesome. They had some great fast breaks, and they were able to make things happen. And we're seeing guys like Brock Boeser play with Jonathan Lekkerimäki, which could be a future line pairing in the next few years if we're able to lock Boeser down for an extension. So these are not only just lines that we may never see again just in the short term, but we could be seeing these lines again down the line if they work, if these players work out and we sign these players long term as the veterans. So it's going to be great to see how this turns into Vancouver's future and what more this Vancouver Canucks team is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. But let us know what you guys think down below. What do you guys think about the preseason so far? Are you excited heading into this season? Love to hear what you guys think. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Love to hear what you guys have to say. But I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.